Okay. I see. Okay, so I think now it's time for us to start our event. Just to get a confirmation, does everybody hear me okay? And the screen is shared properly? Well, I take this silence as a yes.
Yes.
So I start. Welcome. Thank you very much. Thank you, Herman. So welcome, everybody, this lovely afternoon. So here we are at the LIBER event that is called Digital Language Equality 2030, Implications for Libraries, Collections, and Library Users. So we have gathered here to discuss this topic, to give you an introduction to what we have found out so far, that and what are our goals and plans, and most importantly, we would like to hear from you. What are your experiences and what could be your input for this outlining of the future? So first of all, some housekeeping notes. I mean, we all used the Zoom, so I think pretty much used to that. So this webinar is recorded, and after the meeting, that you will receive a separate email that the recording is available. The slides that we are sharing, that they will be uploaded to Zenodo after the session, so you can go through them afterwards if you need to look back into any of the information. If you have any questions, please put them in the chat box, and we will be gladly answering these questions and inviting you for follow-up discussion, because that's what we would like to know. What are your opinions? And this is all in all an interactive session. So of course we have some slides and we give you information, but your input and your participation is very important. So the more you speak out, the more we can make sure that is your voices are heard and represented in the follow-up documentation that we're going to produce. So please speak up with your questions and comments. A little bit about the people that you see in the Zoom. So we have me, Maria Eskevich, here as a moderator for the discussion. I'm working for CLARIN Eric, and we are partners in the LA project that is the main organizer. Here we have two speakers, Herman Rigau and Jean-François Nominé, who will give you presentations on the European language equality, the development of the strategic agenda roadmap, and about the research output and how to make it more visible in several languages. We structure this webinar with a bit of introduction that I'm doing now, and I will give you also some overview into what LA is as a project. Then we have the presentations, and then we envisage the discussion. But if you have some questions during any of the presentations, please type them in the chat and we can address them already after each of the presentations. So we hope to have as much interaction as possible. And of course, afterwards, if there are any closing remarks and thoughts and notes, we'll address them in the end of the webinar. So to start with, I would like to run a very quick poll with you just to see who is our audience. So before we start with the slides and overviews. So there is a set of 3 questions. Let me launch the poll that you should be able now to see on your screens. So first of all, I would like to know, we organized this event from the LA project, but do you know about LA project and the work that is done in this direction? We're talking about language equality. So actually our question is, what is your native language? So are you the native speaker of English, or as actually all of us, the moderator and the speakers, is your native language some other language than English? Is it one of the European majority languages, or do you speak one of the European regional languages or minority languages, or maybe even a language from outside Europe? And our third question is, do you know that some steps are already taken at your workplace to ensure language equality, and if you are aware of it? Okay, I see that you're providing the answers. Thank you. So I'm going to share with you now the results. So we can see that it's really good to give the introduction about the ALE project, because it seems that not many of you are familiar with it. As I think it's the case in any of the rooms of the international meetings these days. Indeed, English is not the native language for the majority of us, which makes it the language equality and digital language equality the very valid topic of discussion and needed one. And I see that some of you indicate that there is already work targeting language equality at your workplace happening, which is very interesting. And I think we can come back to that and talk about that later on at the discussion slot, because it's going to be interesting for us to hear that. Okay, thank you very much for telling us a bit about you. And let me start to talk a little bit about us. So European Language Equality Project. Let me give you a short summary overview. So it's a project, the consortium that contains 53 partners from all over Europe. It's coordinated by a Basque Center in Dublin City University, Ireland. And the objective of this project is the development of a strategic research, innovation, and deployment agenda to achieve digital language equality in Europe by 2020, past the equator. We started on the 1st of January 2021, and it runs for 18 months. So it will end in June 2022. What is the context for this project? Why is it even existing? So the European Parliament in 2018 had a resolution that is called Language Equality in the Digital Age. And some of the most important recommendations that are in this resolution that we are addressing in the project is the goal to establish the large-scale, long-term coordinating funding program for research, development, innovation, and that it should be tailored specifically to Europe's needs and demands. It's important to create a European language technology platform for sharing of these services, and it's important to secure for Europe its leadership in language-centric AI. So the call itself was outlining that this project should not be about research, so we don't really develop the technologies, but it's about looking into the research and the innovation and implementation, what is available now, and road mapping what needs to be done to achieve the full digital language equality in Europe by 2030. The three main components of the call that we are addressing is that we should lay out the current state of language technology. And this is one of the, and it's the main reason why we have the webinars like the one of today, is that we need to talk with as many stakeholders, initiatives, as many beneficiaries in the future of this, of the output of this project. So we liaise through those kind of consultations so that we can assess the impact on linguistic landscape to see what are research areas that get a lot of attention at this point, but also what are the gaps and what are the needs for language technology. Based on this information, we are going to put together a roadmap that would provide this outline to what needs to be done on the European level to ensure that this digital language equality becomes really the reality. So what kind of tools, processes need to be created, and how we should monitor this, what kind of milestones, what kind of metrics are to be there to see how we are proceeding achieving this goal. And of course, we focus on dissemination. So we need to, through this discussion, through those consultations, we need to make as many people aware of these needs, and we need to ensure that there is a lot of conversation and dialogue on the topic. So the consortium itself, just to give you an idea, that there are a lot of partners. There are core partners from the universities. There are networks, associations, initiatives, research infrastructures. There are companies, because we can't talk about the language technologies only in the context of the academic studies. There's a lot of work that happens, that is done by the companies. And also different research organizations are involved in the project and provide the information. So all in all, this goal to achieve digital language equality by 2030, it's a political and societal goal, but it goes it goes all together with the scientific goal that we hope that by 2030, taking all the steps that we outlined, that we can get to the deep natural language understanding, and to do it in for more than one language, of course, because a lot of is done for English these days, but there are much more languages that are spoken across Europe. So the project itself has a very standard structure of the work packages, and essentially each work package has the main goal of defining what is the status quo in the current moment, in 2020, 2021, to look at, okay, so based on the status quo, what can and what should be done, what should we strive for to achieve in 2030. And we work on the strategic agenda and roadmap, how to achieve this, so outlining this. And we, of course, do a lot of communication to make sure that everybody is aware of this roadmap and that we take on board as much input as possible. So to summarize, the project runs till June 2022. And what's important is that in June 2022, there will be the ending not only of the ELE project, but one of the sister projects, the ELG, European Language Grid. And all together, we'll organize the Meta Forum event in June 2022, where this materials, all the outcomes of the project will be present and discussed and showcased. So that's something to mark in your calendars, that all this input that we create, that we collect today and in the upcoming months will be showcased by then. And also, just to, I can't stress it enough, so if you have any comments and questions, please tell us now. And if you see that there are some surveys or questionnaires going around with the label of ELE, please provide your input, because that's what gives us the input material to work with and to make sure that it's all listed in our output. Okay, so I think that's the, So this is the summary of the project, and I stop sharing to see a little bit the audience back. Yes. And first of all, so is there any questions for the ELE so far? I see that there is a request for the shared document for note-taking. We haven't thought about that in advance, but I see that our colleagues from Liber have put together this document. So please put your notes in there already.
Thank you very much. I was just suggesting that to make sure that whatever every also any of the participants have to contribute, or projects we are working on, we can all share in one place instead of losing it through the chat.
That's a great idea. Thank you very much. Yes, so the document is already there, and as I said, the slides per se, so with the overall information, they will be later on available on the Zenodo. Okay, so I can now pass the floor to Herman to give your presentation.
Okay. Okay, I try to share mine. I don't know if you see my presentation now.
All good.
Okay, thank you. Thanks for coming also. Welcome everybody, and I think this is a good opportunity for us to know each other. I think the language technology community and also the research library. So it's very, very, very interesting always to join to the different disciplines and to learn from each other, from the interaction. So I'm very happy to participate on this workshop, in this meeting, because I'm part of, obviously, of the LA project, and I'm very, very interested to know more about you, and possibly you also want to know more about language technology. So let's start talking about this. Yeah, well, I'm also in charge of the work package that is going to develop the strategic research agenda and roadmap for the next 10 years on language technology in Europe. So it's a quite responsibility, and we need to hear everybody and needs to address any needs and any as much as possible, obviously, and as the best we can do, obviously, and with the resources we have that always are limited. So this work package takes into account everything that should be relevant for this task, and more or less this is the first task, which is the desk research, just having reviewed more than 200 documents, maybe in fact more now, around 250 documents and research papers so far about the topic. And we, in this task, we have already produced a deliverable. We will comment about that later. And the second task will be to consolidate all deliverables from the different communities and companies and everybody participating in this project. Remember that we are 22 partners, but also many different points of view. In particular, the one from LIBA, which is 2.10, I think. So is going to produce a report, and we are going to take into account the outcomes from this report, among other 52 deliverables. So the final round will be also is a feedback collection. So we are going to produce the strategic research agenda and roadmap and deliver to you again, and see if this is correct for you, or do you want to add something, or you want to stress another something that is you want to stress or to prioritize, or etc. etc. So we are going to do this in the next coming month, and we all need to take that into account, because this will be maybe in the next years is going to be implemented. So the Commission is going to launch work packages, it's going to launch work programs, etc. So it's important to see where these efforts are going. So don't missing the efforts of everybody and going to the place where we need to the things we need to address. So the first document, sorry, the first document we have already produced is the first report on the strategic research documents and projects already available, and documents and everything that we have been able to consider that are relevant for the topic. It contains more than 200 citations, pointers, and relevant input for the research agenda. Then this document is going to be updated this month. That's why we have more than 215 around, and it's going to, the last update will be on April 2022. So your input is also much appreciated. So if you have something that is missing and you consider it should be there, please let us know. The report contains several sections. I will like to address the two first, or the abstract and introduction, that explains what is this language technology about, and provides also a general overview, so an historical overview, and also describe, thank you, Maria, and also describe the new deep learning revolution that we are now affected, because the research on this language technology has changed dramatically in the last few years, not only 10 years, but the last 3 years. So things are changing very, very fast in this research area. So I recommend you to read this. It's not too long, so a few pages. There are also then the reports on the international organizations from all over the world, also from European initiatives, and then the national initiatives in Europe, also the non-EU national initiative from the States or China, etc. But you can read, obviously, if you like. But I will also recommend to follow to the SWOT analysis, so which are the strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats, and try to identify yourself in these threats, or if something is missing. Finally, we are already set a number of recommendations. You can also feel more interested on some of them, or maybe you think some of them are not in your agenda. So please let us know also if this fits to you or not. So the main findings of these reports are more or less the following. Is this I will try to summarize a bit, but these I think are quite important. The first thing is that together with vision and robotics, language technology is one of the 3 core application areas within artificial intelligence. When we say that, it's because we already have said many times that machine learning, data science, many words around this topic, and not everything is the same. So language technology is one of the 3 main application areas, together with vision and robotics. This is where we apply all these machine learning technologies, all this AI new revolution. So on vision, so I mean pictures, videos, and robotics, so robots, so everything that moves, and also language technology. This is a huge application area where artificial intelligence is playing now a very, very exciting moment. So the current language technology now allows many advanced applications that were totally unthinkable only a few years ago. You already have been seeing some of them, maybe machine translation. This has been a very huge progress. Now the final models we have are able to translate among hundreds of languages, each other, and learning from all of them all together. And this was not possible just a few years ago. So we also expect even more exciting results in the near future, because this is changing day by day. I'm totally amazed about this. So I know the field from the last 30 years, and this is changing so fast. Also, additionally, language technology is one of the most relevant technologies for society, because we all share one thing. We all speak. We all understand language. We all write. So see my plenty of shelves here of books and reports. So we translate this in many different languages also, especially also in English, obviously, but also in our own languages. That is not English in my case. So, and also obviously because of this progress, so the artificial intelligence, this is one of the areas where it could have a large economic impact. However, I mean, this is also obvious for everybody, language technology is not equally developed for all European languages. The most developed one is obviously English, and the rest are fine, are quite below. So, and this is because of the deep learning revolution. The deep learning revolution have several pillars. So there is first of all the deep learning, the deep neural networks. So the models that are very deep on neural networks, and this is quite complex. Neural networks is not a new topic; it's quite old, but now we do that very much better. And now it's more complicated than the neural nets. Also, we have large quantities of data. And also we have something which we didn't have previously, which are graphic cards. So the cards that are in the GPUs, so the ones that provide, for instance, this screen and takes care of that, they do multiplication of matrices very fast, and we can do this all these things much better. And we obviously have experts that are able to join all these three things and produce much better results. Not only improving, so we have here the gray line here, which was the normal progress in this field, for instance, on recognizing, in this case, images, but the green line is the one that steps and obtains even higher results than humans. So now we are obtaining for certain tasks superhuman results using deep learning techniques. This is a slide from somebody from NVIDIA, the ones that sells the graphic cards, obviously. But which are those superhuman results? For instance, describing pictures. This is from 2014, and there are programs, and even better now, that produces captions of images and in different languages. So here in the center, there's a woman in white dress standing with a tennis racket, two people in green behind her. One of those is very is hidden because of the girl. So even those cases are recognized. In 2016, we had well, LibNet, which is a lip recognition that it performs better than professional lip recognition people, that the ones that just produces with a mouse. This is a picture from 2001 Space Odyssey, where the robot was able to read the lips of the astronauts. Or creating images, not locating, creating images from text. For instance, an illustration of a baby daikon radish in a tutu walking on a dog, it produces an image. Or even an archer in shape of an avocado, and produces different images from that, just providing examples from many different things, and is able to dream what it could be an arm shape or left shape of avocado. It's not locating that picture, it's creating that picture. This is from this year. Or, for instance, summarizing a book. Is the new machines are able to not only to translate or locate information in a book, but just summarizing a book. Obviously, not all languages in Europe have the same results, because this is mainly for English and the main languages, not for all of them. This is a map of the European languages endangered in particular in the world, but here we take a picture of Europe. Okay, so in the map there are some dots in black, which are extinct languages overall. Well, the SWOT analysis in the strength, we have all these deep learning tools available that do fantastic things. We have also multiple and relevant stakeholders like LIBA, whose objective maybe is to promote and also have language technology in mind, and can help us to the success of this language technology revolution. There are very useful data resources that can be exploited by current language technology. Maybe LIBA can help us to obtain these data resources. There are companies that do and are ready to deploy in production tools. Language technology also can help to make our societies more inclusive, and etc. These are the strengths, obviously. Sorry. The weaknesses, many. There are language, these pre-trained language models, these neural networks have shortcomings and limitation. We will see maybe later on a few. There are many non-European actors that dominate the language technology market, especially from the States and also from China. The language technology is not playing a relevant role in the political agenda in public debate in Europe and not in the member states. Most of them think about artificial intelligence, but not think about language technology. And maybe are talking about this is a general misconception of and maybe also overhyping of the actual artificial intelligence and language technology capability. This is a clear confusion on the things people don't know. So maybe one of the things we need to do is to address that dissemination and to try to clarify the things. There is no European policy addressing the language barriers in Europe. Also, there are problems with the copyright and the directive related to that. Maybe also in November this month, there has been launched the Data Governance Act that may have alleviated this thing. Let's hope for the best of this. So there are no adequate language technology policies also. There are countries where there are no official support for their own languages in the countries, just the official ones. There is also problems with the computing facilities. So these large language models and deep learning things require a lot of graphic cards, and maybe also the European Union with the Euro HPC joint understanding effort could alleviate also. But anyway, there is an uneven distribution of resources of any type, so data, funding, etc., per country, per region, and per language. So this is also weaknesses. Opportunities. Obviously, we have these new powerful monolingual, multilingual, and also cross-lingual deep learning capabilities. We can also pass information, knowledge from one language to another language, which is maybe less resourced. We know that language technology is key to support European multilingualism. So if we want to also be a multilingual society. And well, a language technology we use every day. For instance, from the mobile, it's plenty of language technology. and maybe also important for the well-being of our society. For instance, in health, there is a large opportunity there because most of the information, digitalized information in health domain are text and voice, etc. Administration, justice, education, also culture, why not tourism, etc., etc. So this we see this as a possible domains where to apply language technology. And also for disabilities and impairments can be applied. And we know that is going to be even better in the future. The threats. So more than 20 languages in Europe are in danger of digital extinction. This was a study that it was carried out 10 years ago. Now we are doing a new one, trying to address, to see what is the problem now with the languages. The language models, the deep learning thing, are not explainable. It's like black boxes. Maybe they are not, they contain much common sense. It's just like parrots and just produce a language. Also with bias, the language they provide maybe are also biased and may also contain personal data. So it's also, we need to take this into account and also have a very heavy impact on footprint, so carbon footprint, because they requires a lot of energy to produce. And also threats is that nobody knows about the language technology, but they confuse with AI, and which is a very broad topic. Also, we are aware that most human capital in Europe goes to outside, goes to the States basically. And also we are aware of the complexity of these directives from EU about the data. Could be costly, unclear, and risky. So we hope that the next advance, the next Data Governance Act is going to take care of that. Sorry. Just an example. Maybe you already know about that. This is how May-Liver or the research libraries in Europe can help language technology. This is a project in Spain, which is MAR-IA. IA is Inteligencia Artificial, so it's artificial intelligence. This is a project we started several years ago with the Plan de Impulso de las Tecnologías de la Lengua in Spain, and it has been done with the data from the Spanish library, so Biblioteca Nacional de España, and the Barcelona Supercomputer Center. The Biblioteca Nacional de España has a duty to perform every year the crawling of the whole web page in Spain. So all of them are stored in disks. They have been done this around 15 years or something, and they just storing this information. It's not used, it's just stored. So these language models require a lot of data. So what they did is just to take all this data, around 59, 60 terabytes of information before cleaning, and they have cleaned and produced a super big corpora of around 600 gigabytes of data. And they have produced models, many models with this information. Just to show how many things can be done. This is not current. There are so many now, GPT-3, etc., etc. These are models. They are from the names are taken from some Sesame Street. So that's why there is Bert, Elmo, Grover, or Ernie. So we have plenty of Sesame Street here, and there is many different types of language models. For instance, this started around 2013 or something like that with the word-to-back thing. But BERT, for instance, was invented in a few years ago, in 2018, at the end of 2018, and appears in the proceedings in the conferences in 2019, so 3 years ago. And from then there is an explosion of things like GPT-3, etc., etc. So this is something that it can be done easily with the libraries, with the resources they have. But could be the other way around. What language technology can offer to LIBA or to the libraries? Machine translation, metadata generation, just creating metadata, document processing, document AI, what it's understanding is complete document. It's not just OCR. It's the understanding there is a picture, there's a column, there is a citation here, something like that. Document summarization, as we have seen before, information retrieval, chatbots, information extraction. There is plenty of information in the documents that may help researchers and users, like detecting persons, locations, organizations, dates, entity linking to Wikipedia, to any reference to somebody or to a particular locations, time normalization, event detection even. So who is doing what, where, when, and where. And it's not only about language in text, but also could be about audio and video. So I suggest you to read the section 2 of the ELIT deliverable 3.1, report on existing strategies, and also, if you are interested, on the report on the state of the art in language technology and language-centric AI, which is another deliverable. Is more technical. So if you also like this, you just to have a look. Just that will be okay. And that's all for my part. Thank you very much. I hope you can make many questions about this, and I hope to answer a few. Thank you.
Thank you, Herman. It was very insightful and a lot of information. We've added the link to the deliverables, so indeed everybody can have a look after the meeting. So just you can probably stop sharing screen.
Yeah, I will try. Stop sharing. Yeah.
Yeah, very good.
Thank you.
Thank you. So I think now we can proceed to the second presentation. So to be also well in time with our planning, and then we can have more discussion and questions and feedback. So Jean-François, can you please share your screen?
Yes, gladly. Can you see it?
We see it, but we see it in this presenter mode, so that we see 3 slides. So,
And now?
Yes, now perfect.
Okay.
Please go ahead.
First, I would like to say how I'm happy to be back at LIBER. I participated many years back in London at University of London to the General Conference of LIBER, and it was a very exciting experience. Now, to come back to my talk, I want to drop a few words to provide so you can best define my angle. I work at the CNRS, which is a big research performing organization in my country, and I work in its research supporting unit, Institute of Scientific and Technical Information. I'm not a librarian. Actually, I'm a translator by training, but work in this environment. And so what I want to do now is to give a view as seen from different vantage points I'm privileged to be able to use. Although I'm not a librarian, I will end my talk with observations and maybe assumptions around connected issues on translation and multilingualism and librarianship and contribution of libraries. First of all, the French language and English have much in common, but even though they have this commonality, we must say that here in France, even in the research background, when it comes to scholarly communication, English is partly a challenge and an enduring one for scholarly writers, and when it comes to publishing, of course. And I will come back to this poor English syndrome when submitting articles later. But in parallel, French is still used among certain communities nationally and somewhat beyond the national limits, as in the case of other great languages. So the question is, what about the full visibility of research output, especially when published? So in this world, as you may know, we have a landmark, which is the Helsinki initiative, which dates back to April 2019. It originated from Finnish high-level academic and scholarly circles, but I think we can say that there is much convergence in France and in other countries with this initiative, which calls for the multilingual dissemination of research results for the full benefits of societies, to protect also national infrastructures for publishing in the different countries, and to facilitate the dissemination of relevant research, and to promote language diversity, and also through language diversity, bibliodiversity. So this leads also to concerns about disseminating research results beyond academia, and also interact with heritage, culture, and society. So it is about providing equal access to researcher knowledge in a variety of language, promote language diversity, also in research assessment, evaluation, and funding systems. So as seen from a purely French point of view, this is also good ground for our concern of raising visibility, the visibility status of research outputs, which are described in French, into mainstream languages, and also in terms of machine visibility, and also locally, that is, within our language community. There's been a French participation rather early through one European initiative, which also was connected to Horizon 2020 projects, which is the opera's infrastructure. It is an infrastructure for the development of openly scholarly communication in the social sciences and humanities that some of you may know. So the goal was to make open science a reality, which is the very backdrop of our concerns in research in France. In the social sciences and humanities, and to achieve a scholarly communication system where the knowledge produced in these fields benefits researchers, academics, students, and more generally society across Europe, and why not worldwide and without barriers. So this is an infrastructure which includes 53 institutional members and 16 countries, which is not that little. And the common concerns behind this infrastructure is to develop common standards, multilingualism, open access business models, because it is connected to publishing and scholarly communication tools, research, and development. So it developed a concept and demonstrator of a multilingual discovery tool, Triple, which is expected to help find technologically in a search engine way, like scholarly communication in the disciplinary fields, SSH, and to promote international scholarly cooperation around translation and language services within the involved communities. It is about to release a white book which was produced in one of its project legs, which is its multilingualism, special interest group. And the three key recommendations are to further develop the multilingual and multicultural discovery platform for the social sciences and humanities called Go Triple, and to create also national nodes which would allow to identify needs around, of course, publishing, but also language development, provide services and training, and keep national languages as fully scientific, valid modes of expression while promoting them on the international level. And 3, study and promote the development of a translation platform for multilingual publishing, aggregate a group of expertise who work collaboratively and share information, of course, in the scholarly arena, in the academic arena. So the key motto is harnessing the human factor to assistive language technologies. So all this based on 3 pillars: a community-based platform, a platform conceived as a social infrastructure, and 3, that this must contribute to make national production become internationally relevant. So there is in this infrastructure an enduring and strong interest in building cooperation in such a project. And it is, I think, for this community also, a community with which efforts, ideas, and concepts can be shared, and cooperation, of course. Now, if we narrow down a little bit more to France, there has been in 2020 as part of the Committee for Open Science of the Research Ministry, a report which was commissioned about translations and open science. And so the work was being done during the summer 2020, and produced a report in November of the same year. And so it was based on trying to figure out the situation of the language status in scholarly communities in our country. Of course, many of the discussions revolved around the use of English in scholarly communication. So the underlying thinking around translation and specific issues were that, well, English is a lingua franca, yes, but is it really a lingua franca? As it is a challenge for non-English speaking research settings, as it was measured in recent studies, because the English is well, the question was, is the English used in scholarly communication so unidiomatic as it should be for speakers and writers? Is there in some way, very naturally, some kind of cultural and language bias? Some studies reported, for instance, comments during peer reviewing reports, comments like, well, the paper is a little bit over the top and too pretentious. It's just too Latin for a Northwestern European, which shows, for instance, the different angles of views that may exist in how a paper should be written, depending on different language cultures. But this is not only a concern for the non-English speakers. English speakers too raise a concern about the monopoly of English, so to speak. And as it has been expressed, for instance, in this quotation, science, when communicated exclusively in English, risks not fully meeting its third mission, which is to inform the public. Never before have we seen this phenomenon as intensified as it has been throughout the COVID-19 pandemic. And this is something which was published in a blog post of the London School of Economics. So language is right at the heart of the question of open science, which means provide equal access to research results and public understanding of science. So this requires that discriminating access to knowledge and dissemination through language efforts should be lifted. And also, as this is very important, the economic aspect was underlined by Herman. It also requires to ease the additional unaffordable cost, most of the time unaffordable. So the reports, well, was based on the idea, what if one could use language technologies and address specific issues of scale by exploring a possible option through language technology and especially machine translation to respond to the requirement of openness. Are there possible technical means to develop the multilingual dissemination of science by capitalizing on recent advances in translation technologies? How can one help promote large-scale multilingualism in scientific communication, right in the Helsinki initiative spirit? And how better raise the barrier between science and society, science in society? So it was much a matter of probing the feasibility of this potential technological solution in order to promote the dissemination of scientific production, originally in French, into other languages in all continents, and on the other side, to break down language barriers for French-speaking citizens, organizations, and companies who wish to access international research results. So, importantly, there was also another question that was to be addressed, that is to take disciplinary practices and requirements into account, among other factors, and in a differentiated approach, which is necessary to promote all French scientific production internationally. So this meant that one needed to run experiments in 5 scientific disciplines on 3 languages. Well, it was a proposal. We considered that experiments should be run in 5 scientific disciplines on 3 language pairs at the time in 2020, from French into English, from English into French, and from French into Spanish. So I'm going to show you a selection of the report recommendations. Of course, when it comes to one talks about machine translation, and especially in science and scholarly communication, the problem is are there sufficient existing multilingual corpora? So one recommendation was that efforts should be dedicated to identify and analyze the types and sizes of multilingual corpora and explore new possibilities of collection. Also, the idea was to process these collected corpora to obtain test and learning databases and share linguistic resources to feed into translation systems. There was also the recommended idea to test technologies and ecosystems, evaluate machine translation system using the test and learning basis, and also create a demonstrator as a forerunner of a large-scale translation process. There was also a question of raising awareness about technologies, needed adaptations, use, reasonable expectations. So it was proposed to develop a guide for researchers and research institutions on machine translation, writing in other languages, and plain English, in plain language writing, especially plain language writing adapted to machine translation, and explore potential avenues for international, should I add, collaboration on the constitutions of corpora in European publishing networks. So the central idea behind the recommendations were to involve all stakeholders and conduct both innovative and robust pilot experiments, which is, I think, something which resonates with the current project we are talking about. The next thing was that this year in July, the second open science, national open science plan was released. And one of its key paths out of 4 was to promote bibliodiversity, as already mentioned, in connection to the Helsinki initiative. In this area, the Ministry of Research was to support open access business models, of course, without publication fees, of course, and to promote experimentation with translation services, and stating that it would support experimentation with translation tools and services for scientific text in order to encourage international dissemination of scientific works, originally in French, and to facilitate also access to scientific works written in foreign languages. So now when it comes to implementing the plan, of course, this is a big challenge which needs much exploration, as there is much to do to have technology based on reliable, robust, and as parallel as possible language material, not to speak of diverse and differentiated scholarly community expectations, practices, styles, and social appropriation of language dimensions. This is why the plan is based on principle of technological openness and sharing resources, experience targeted at the openness of outputs. Start slow, test, see for real, review, and adjust based on modest material to begin with, and which are also nodes to extended visibility, especially through machine visibility. Explore issues, resources, and solutions. Rely on international creativity and cooperation based on pathfinding approach by launching calls with a deliberately open attitude. So in this perspective, this is how an active support at high level, I mean at a high level, is materializes with a HiTZ era proposal call, which has been prepared. All stakeholders involved in ERANET network are invited to support the contest call. HiTZ era is a pathfinder program for European coordinated research on future and emerging information and communication technologies. This challenge call proposed by the French research funder ANR is also a call to ERANET network members to join in supporting this call titled Science in Your Own Language. This endeavor is consistent with the underlying strategic approach sought in your project. In its format and intent, it will help bring to the fore key players, technology and resource holders in the same line as ELI, which could be put to service for the deployment of technologies, enabling new tools for the multilingual dissemination of scientific knowledge through machine translation and similar assistive technologies. The geographical scope of this contest looks to be in line with the ambition of your project too. Note that HiTZ era brings together 28 funding as organizations, research funding organizations across Europe and beyond, also Quebec and Taiwan. And why mentioning Quebec, just know that high-level talks are also underway between Canada and France in our field of interest, but there is more to say about that. There will be more to say about this in a rather near future than possibly today. Now, to finish this talk, how can librarianship help? Librarians, help. Now, let's have a dream. And think that our world of research has all the tools and the proficiency to disseminate research results through technology in several languages at the same time. Post them on publishing venues, on preprint servers and other resources. Isn't there an opportunity for research librarians to prepare for this? Imagine that numerous objects in several languages propagate across our digital world and come in a translated form from different places. How are users to know that there are Finnish, Portuguese, Italian, or English versions of this German or Catalan paper published in a national community journal? How can an engineer in a consultancy firm or patent agent know that this Spanish paper on material science resistance has a solid and exploitable translation in his own language? How could these versions link together and be found by machines without hurdles? Which professionals would be best placed to design mechanisms and systems to address emerging needs like those? Isn't there something from the practical library and information science culture to draw on? And I want to thank you for your attention. And you can write to me if you have more questions which come up after this session. And if you have also more specific questions about the HiTZ accord, this presentation contains the emails of the persons of the National Research Agency which are in charge of this. And also if you have more questions regarding the Research Ministry language policies in connection to open science, you can also send an email to the mentioned person. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Jean-François. That was very interesting to listen to this angle of discussion. And I think it's a good input. And indeed, you outlined what actually librarians could help the whole community with.